Edmund Downey was an Irish novelist, publisher and journalist. Born in 1856, the son of William Downey and Elizabeth Hayes. He was educated at the Catholic University High School, Waterford, and St. John's College, also Waterford. In 1878 he moved to London, where he worked with the Tinsley Brothers publishing house. In 1884 he formed a new publishing house with Osbert Ward, named Ward and Downey. The company specialised in 3-volume publications for the library market, and published many known Irish writers like John Augustus O'Shea and Standish O'Grady. He left the company in 1890, and in 1894 founded another one named Downey & Co. In 1906, he moved back to Waterford, where he became the proprietor of the Waterford News magazine. His paper was sympathetic to Sinn Féin, earning Downey the position of honorary treasurer to Sinn Féin during the Irish War of Independence. He initially married Frances Margaret Allen, and after her death in 1918, he married Bridget Josephine Quinlan. He died in 1937 at Waterford. He wrote serious works, many with Irish themes, as well as satirical works under the pen name F. M. Allen. His first book was his 1883 nautical collection, Anchor Watch Yarns. A House of Tears, an original story, is one of Downey's early works, coming out in 1886. The story begins as the recollection of a certain doctor named Emmanuel, a lonely, misanthropic soul, who is fascinated by a grim old house adjacent to his property, Red Post House, long abandoned, surrounded by a park no one dares venture into. His housekeeper reveals that she used to work at the place, and has many a story to tell of the wildest, most horrific conduct that took place there between the owner, Archibald Brabazon, and his drunkard friend, Dr. Bledsoe. She had never told him this before, and only told him now because it seemed to her that Archibald's son, Ralph Brabazon, had actually come back to Red Post House the other day, after spending most of his life abroad. Soon after this revelation, a servant from Red Post House arrives at the practice, demanding Dr. Emmanuel go and help his master. Ralph Brabazon is a strange man, dressed all in black, bedbound, and hiding his face from the doctor. He soon develops a friendship with Emmanuel, however, because Emmanuel himself is noted to be a very odd person. Ralph Brabazon also seems very interested in talking about snake bites and their potential treatment. Their friendship, however, is suddenly put on hold when a strange woman comes into the doctor's lonely study and forces information out of him in relation to Brabazon's routine in an effort to blackmail him. But her attempt leads only to her death from a snake bite with a giant viper fang embedded in her flesh. Her death greatly shakes up Dr. Emmanuel, as she had managed to manipulate him and make him fall in love with her, and he goes out to have a holiday to try and steady his nerves. But just as he arrives, he is snooped out by the woman's husband, who happens to be the son of Dr. Bledsoe, Archibald Brabazon's only close friend. The man threatens to kill Emmanuel if he doesn't deliver a note of blackmail to Brabazon. Trying to do so leads to Brabazon revealing to Emmanuel his snake tongue and poisoned fangs, and nearly poisoning him to death as well. Apparently his father loved serpents and was a rotten old bastard, so that his son was just born partially as a snake, for some reason. There seems to have been no inhuman experimentation going on, and it just simply happened, I guess. Foiled in his plans, Anthony Bledsoe, Dr. Bledsoe's son, still tries to at least expose Brabazon's secret, but he decided to try to do this by taking a policeman with him, who immediately arrests him, since Bledsoe had already committed a murder under an assumed name. The idea of a partially snake-like human being is an interesting concept, but is barely used. Ralph Brabazon is only seen in 2 scenes at the beginning of the book, before a large chunk of the book is devoted to young Bledsoe and his wife, Bledsoe's threats, and Dr. Emmanuel's continued mental and physical ailments, so we only get a very brief glimpse of his personality. Anthony Bledsoe, despite being only an old rogue with some skill with a knife, takes up much more screen time. The settings are also fairly limited. Red Post House, or Emmanuel's home and study, are practically the only places of interest. This, combined with a lack of many incidents beyond the poisoning of the young woman, helps to emphasize that there is not enough story. It would have sufficed for a longer short story, but stretched out into a full book, its few interesting points get stretched too thin.